Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first YouTube Live. We've technically done YouTube Lives before, but we've never done it through YouTube, so it's my first time seeing this screen. But anyway, I just wanted to come here kind of randomly because there's a lot of comments in several videos that I have not yet responded to. Hi, Gerardo. Thank you for joining. I was just saying that, like we get a lot of comments and we don't always get to respond to all of them. I usually respond to the ones that are, the easiest to respond to in the moment. But there are some other comments that kind of require more details, more explanation. So it usually takes more time for me to really sit down and actually respond to the comments because I don't want to small talk anyone. Like I want to provide information, but sometimes I think too much about it. Adrian, are you getting canceled? Stop, she's not getting canceled. Why would I be getting canceled? Hey everyone, thank you for joining. Faye Brown, aloha. Great to see you on here. Thank you. Great to see you here too. Siri, is that Siri Romeo? uh, yes, thank you. Hopefully, we won't ever get canceled, but now in today's day and age, you never know. Um, but anyway, so I was saying, I'm just gonna respond to some comments here because it's just easier to talk than to type. So I will try to do one of these really um, what's the word I'm looking for? Casual live streams, at least one per week. I hope so. But I would love to do at least 2 to 3 per week. I don't have any sort of like schedules in mind right now, but I would love to have them scheduled just so everyone can know to tune in. So if you guys watching live, hey Richard, thanks for joining. Um, would love to recommend any, days or times that would work well for you. Let me know, and maybe we can create a set schedule. So okay, and then the third point I have here before I get into answering questions is that well actually no, there's one more thing, sorry. I was just going to say that even though I'm responding to comments, if you guys watching live right now have any questions, I will definitely give priority to the live comments. So Gerardo, Faye Brown, Romeo and Richard and Adrian, if you guys have any questions, let me know and I can answer them or try to answer them right now. And then the last point I want to say before I start is just a little disclaimer that I am not the most knowledgeable person ever. So I always speak from experience. And I just say this to avoid getting canceled someday, but I just want to say that, I'm just speaking from experience and I'm trying to help you guys with what I think would have helped me or has helped me. So yeah, but without just saying any more random things, I'm just gonna go straight into it and the questions that we got in here. Okay, so 2 days ago we have this question that says, "Hello, sister. I recently got my bachelor's degree in electrical and computer engineering, and I have applied for a master's in biomedical engineering at VUB. I have got an interview coming up and I literally have no idea how to get ready. Any tips would be much appreciated." I've never done a master's interview, so that's a really hard question. I can't speak from experience for that, but I can say to, kind of just, I think if they do ask technical questions, it'll probably be about your undergraduate experience. So just be preferred, just be prepared to tell your story and your experience and what you've done so far. And they just want to make sure that you're competent and that you know what you're doing and that you've learned something. So I would just practice, telling my story, telling about my internship experience, about my research experience, why is what you're doing important? What was the overall goal of your research, of any project you worked on? If you don't have any kind of like experience, there's always like senior design or projects that you did in school. So, things like that, I think would be good to mention. I don't think they're gonna ask you any like super technical questions like, oh, like what's the powerhouse of the cell, I don't know. But yeah, so we have a live chat comment here that says, I just graduated from BME and your videos helped me with interview prep a lot. I wish I had known about your channel when I was a freshman. Thank you so much for making these videos. Well, thank you so much for your comment. It really means a lot. I'm not trying to be like conceited or anything, but my videos would have also helped me a lot when I was younger. I mean, and I think that goes for anyone. Like, obviously looking back, you could always tell your younger self, oh, you should do this, you should do that. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do, let you guys know what I know now that I wished I would have known earlier. Because I totally agree with that feeling that if I had only known, but now we know, and use the information to just get better. So, but anyway, thank you for your comment. That does mean a lot, and definitely inspires us to keep going. So thank you. Okay, the next question is, hi, I finished my classes and now I'm deciding my next course, like biomedical engineering and biotechnology. What's the right one to choose? Please suggest. Okay, this question has an answer that I give a lot of people, which is it is totally up to you. And I feel like I say that a lot, but it is the truth for a lot of things. I can't tell you if biotechnology or biomedical engineering is better. Like, I don't think there should be a right answer to that. Obviously, I could look up which one pays more, which one has more jobs, which one has a better expected job outcome, things like that. And I could certainly prepare a video or, prepare myself with information to respond to questions like that. But at the end of the day, it's a career, and I think a career in science or engineering is always going to be a good choice. So I would never discourage anyone to pursue a career in STEM. I think most careers in STEM will be profitable at the end of the day. So not only that, but they're also really, touching careers. I think if you like it, like you can get to do a lot of cool things. So it's up to you. But if you just want to hear like the differences between biomedical engineering and biotechnology, at a top level, biomedical engineering is an engineering degree. Biotechnology, period, is not an engineering degree. I mean, it just doesn't have it in the name. They're related because they're science and they involve technology, but biotechnology is not engineering. You're not going to be taking classes like, well, I think you're not going to be taking classes like statics, dynamics, things like things that engineers would use, like linear algebra, things like that. I think biotechnology is more heavy on the science. Yeah, so I would think that biotechnology is very similar to biomedical science, but for example, I wouldn't really be able to compare the two of those because I don't know much about it. I just know that BME is an engineering degree that uses biology and other more like specific biology fields like cellular biology, biocompatibility, biomaterials, biotechnology, things like that. Then you get into areas like imaging, photonics, things like that. So, yeah. Uh, so again, short answer is there's no wrong or right answer. It's really up to you and your interests. I can't tell you what to study because it's up to you. Like, what do you see yourself doing? There, you can do different things with both. Both can also land you similar jobs, but I think the main um, thing to get out of this is that biotechnology is not an engineering degree. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's just not engineering. Okay, AB says, what do you do as a biomedical engineer in the work field? So I technically don't, what's the word, practice as an engineer. So I graduated from biomedical engineering last May, and at that time I had been working at a medical device startup as a product development engineer intern for a year. So I worked as a product development engineer, and then I kept working part time as a product development engineer until February of this year. So up until February, I was still a quote unquote engineer. Um, and so what I did at the startup, um, well, I did a lot of things. Like when you work at a startup, you get to wear a lot of hats, which is one of the reasons I would really encourage people to work at a startup when, especially for internships. I think it's really great because working at a startup, you get to do different things in different areas. So maybe there's one specific one that you really enjoyed working in, and then you decide to pursue that specific area once you're a professional. So anyway, when I was at the medical device startup, I did a variety of things. I acted as a quality engineer, kind of like taking care of documentation and things like that. Then I would also act as a testing engineer where I would, actually perform bench tests with the medical device prototypes. Sometimes I could act as a manufacturing engineer because I would assemble devices. I would work with the software. Um, yeah, I sometimes I would be a packaging person, spend one day folding a bunch of boxes and shipping things out. Then I became a regulatory affairs person, and that's when I started working in the 510(k) submission for the medical device that we were working at a startup. And this is why I said that working at a startup is pretty cool because you get to do different things. Because when I started working on the regulatory affairs side, I realized that I really enjoyed doing that for some reason. I loved reading about FDA's rules and reading like long documents and reading about new research and looking at the novel medical devices in the market and things like that, kind of doing like market research, I guess. And I really enjoyed putting the submission together, and I just really enjoyed regulatory affairs as a whole, which is why I decided to go out and find uh, another part-time job as a in regulatory affairs. So between December and February, I had two part-time jobs so I could work full-time. Um, and so I was part-time at the medical device startup, part-time at a regulatory affairs consulting firm. And in February, they offered me a full-time position. So I took it, and now I work there full-time as a consultant for medical device companies. I'm still at the associate level, but it's really cool. Like, I really enjoy working in regulatory affairs and specifically in consulting other medical device companies because I think it's really cool to be able to work with different clients that are like the CEOs or like upper management of new medical device companies. So yeah, that's really cool. And I get to work in a variety of medical devices. Like it can range from like, gauzes, sutures, s- electronic stethoscopes, to like AI software. So I think that concept is really cool to like be able to just have a knowledge in all those different areas. And the thing about regulatory affairs is that when you're putting those submissions together, you have to present like the overall medical device. So you have to understand biocompatibility, you have to understand software, you have to understand electrical engineering a little bit. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much like animal testing, clinical studies, things like that. So I don't know. I think it's just a really good mixture of things that I think really describe what a biomedical engineer is. But at the end of the day, you're not really acting as an engineer. So, it can be a field that not everyone is interested in because it does require a lot of reading and documentation rather than a more like hands-on job that you would imagine you would have as an engineer. Um, but I personally really enjoy it. So, yeah, hope that answers your question. Let me know if there's any like specific details you'd like to know. I would love to answer. Um, oh wow, that's nice. It's kind of flexible. Thank you for your answer. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I really like that. It's really flexible. And specifically where I work, like I actually work from home. So it's super flexible and it just really works for me. For me, like I love working from home. So yeah. Um, okay. So Miriam said, if I want to major in BME, is there any university recommendation? Again, this is a question we get a lot. Um, thank you for asking the question, but it's not really something I like answering because I mean you could Google, what are the top universities for biomedical engineering, and you'll get a bunch of results. You will see the top universities for BME. Um, a lot of them are expensive, or they're in other cities that maybe you don't want to travel to, or something like that. So it's really up to you. I mean, I do think if you go to a better university, like um, a university with more prestige or that's like known for having a good program, it can definitely have its advantages. Like more companies will go to like career fairs and things like that. So I'm not discouraging people from going to a good university because they do carry advantages. But I also think that any university should be good enough. Like, I think at the end of the day, it's really up to you as a student and as a young professional to really put yourself out there, to remember that it's not about your GPA, it's about the experience, it's about the network that you grow. Um, so yeah, wherever you go, just remember to do those things. Okay. What are the differences between BME and bioinformatics and biotechnology? So I kind of just went over the differences between bioengineering and biotechnology earlier. Basically, one is engineering and the other one isn't. Biotechnology, I think it's really similar maybe to bioengineering, where like it encompasses things in the biology field. Like including agriculture and natural resources and things like that, where like biomedical engineering is focused in the human medical field. It's also engineering, so you get other things there. Bioinformatics is like a more specific field of both, maybe. I'm not too sure about it actually, but I think it involves kind of like computer engineering and like um yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to answer that separately because I know I've searched for it, but actually, I mean, let me just Google it. You can get an answer from Google. Informatics is a subdiscipline of biology and computer science concerned with the acquisition, storage, analysis, and dissemination of biological data, most often DNA and amino acid sequences. So, yeah, from my understanding, it's kind of like you could expect to use like computer science, but like in biology application. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Um, okay, Richard, do you plan to stay in regulatory in the future? Any other roles you're interested in trying out? Um, that's a good question. I think I do plan to stay in regulatory affairs just because, and to be honest, like I feel like it's a like when I first started researching about regulatory affairs, I realized that most people don't get into it this soon. Like most people get experience as an engineer working for the medical device company, um, in any kind of like engineering department. Then eventually, when they want to, I don't know, I guess not do so much hands-on, they'll transition into regulatory affairs. Or that's at least what I saw that a lot of people are kind of like or yeah, it seems to be something you eventually get into. But I just really liked it from the beginning. I'm not sure why. I think I just like that. I don't know. It has a lot of research and kind of like market research too. And one thing that I really liked about it too is that it gives you the opportunity to one day work on your own, like be your own boss without having to actually have like a medical device company. You know, like sure you could be like, well, I'm an engineer and I could be my own boss if I was the CEO of a company. Like I'll just develop a product and an idea. And I mean that's something that I think would be cool doing too. But regulatory affairs is so much more easy, I think, to be able to achieve getting to a point where you could be your own boss, your own company, work on your own if you wanted to. If, you know, when I'm 50 and I want to slow down or like take my own clients on my own, I could do that because by then I'll have like almost 30 years of experience in the field. So I can be, you know, my own boss, if that makes sense. I like the idea of that and I like just that it has that opportunity. I also like that it's a field that I think is never gonna go away. Like even between like during COVID, I think they actually received even more applications. Like regulatory affairs, people were even more busy, just because of all the medical devices that were being created, and so just the fact that it could um, that it did not only survive a pandemic, but it thrived during a pandemic. I think it's a good sign that it's a good career that I don't think will ever go away. So I think it's a good choice, but it's definitely not for everyone. Um, but I mean, before that, I didn't really know if there was something specific I wanted to do within the medical device industry. I liked product development because it was kind of like regulatory, where it encompasses a lot of different departments, not just one. But yeah, it's really up to everyone. But I think that's yeah, I would definitely like to stay in this field. Okay, Jackie Reyes. Hey, I'm new here, like your channel, by the way. How can I incorporate computer science into the biomedical engineering? If you already answered this question, forget it. I mean, I didn't technically answer this question, but I kind of did. Someone asked, like, what's bioinformatics? And I just looked it up, and it's literally like a combination of computer science and biology. But I also want to say that the medical device industry is like they have we have so many software products and like even the products that you wouldn't think need software are like companies are now developing software for the products. Like, so for example, I mean, I don't want to give too much detail, but let's just say that every physical hardware product now has, or not every, but a lot of them are having like mobile apps, for example. Like now everything has an app where you can see the data that it's collecting or things like that. There's also a lot of AI software being developed, and there's a thing called like software as a medical device. So a software product can be considered a medical device. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for software engineers and computer science people to get into the medical field, and use their expertise and apply it in biomedicine. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, and yeah, well, thank you for asking your question. I think that was really good, and yeah, there's definitely an opportunity. So we have a next question that says, "Is a PhD in biomedical engineering worth it?" Again, uh, um, it depends on what you want to do. I don't think an advanced degree could ever hurt you. Um, but I mean, I have heard of people being overqualified, but it really depends on what you want to do. Like, I feel like a PhD is mandatory if you want to be in academia, like if you want to be a professor or do research and things like that. So, yeah, if you're thinking of that, academia, you definitely need a PhD. If you're thinking of going to industry, I mean, a PhD is still good. Um, yeah, I think it's definitely worth it. If it's something you're interested in pursuing, I would definitely do it. Okay. Okay, Miriam said, thank you so much for your answers. Richard also said, thanks so much. Love your channel. Keep it up. Thank you both so much for asking your questions, and joining this live. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad we could help. Okay. Faye Brown was doing my research, then came across this University of Pittsburgh, being the very first in the US to develop a program that consists a dual degree in BME and nursing. Oh wow, I have never heard of a BME and nursing degree. That's really interesting. Um, any thoughts? I mean, I would love to just read more about it because I've never heard about this degree before. I've heard of like combining BME with like the medical track, like if you want to be a doctor. But for nursing, I mean that's really interesting. Like I wonder why they would do that. Like if it's just to give you the option of, do you either want to be an engineer or do you want to be a nurse, which are kind of very opposite. I know there's like clinical engineering where you actually work in the hospital, and I guess they kind of technically have similar roles to nurses, so that might be it. Actually, maybe that with that degree you can kind of be a clinical engineer. I also know there's like medical device specialists. Like there's this university in Houston that has a program for cardiac device specialists it's like a 6 month training program after you complete your bachelor's that when you complete that 6 month program, that one is specific for electrophysiology, which is like a subfield of cardiology. And I know people that do that program like either end up working at medical device companies, or at the hospital, or kind of like both. Um, so maybe that's kind of like it. Like you become like a medical device specialist in a certain field. I don't know. I hope that gives you some thoughts, but I don't think it actually gives you a clear answer. But that's really interesting. I would definitely consider it. I mean, if you're interested in both sides. But yeah, Jackie said, thank you. You're welcome. Um, Okay, we have Siju. George. By the way, sorry guys if I mispronounce your names. Like, I also have a really kind of like weird name, so I totally feel bad thinking that I might be mispronouncing it, but I'm sorry. I wish you could just let me know how it's spelled, but I'm sorry for mispronouncing. Um, can you explain about the BME syllabus? Yes. I actually want to make a video on this, like a more detailed video, so I'll leave that for later, but I can give you like a high level, um, I guess, overview of what my BME degree was. So, for background information, I want to say that I was a transfer student from another university that did not offer BME. My other university was back where I lived, kind of, and I was undecided for the first 2 years of my college career until I decided to pursue engineering, and then I started taking like um, engineering, like prerequisites, kind of like, just like my science courses, pre-calculus, calculus, all that. Um, so with that being said, I think you do need to be ready for calculus one. So if you didn't take pre-cal, take pre-cal in college. Like if you didn't take it in high school, you'll need to take it in college. Um, but other than that, you kind of go in, take intro to BME, which kind of like introduces you to BME and the different fields. At my university, there were three concentrations, which were biomechanics, cellular and tissue engineering, and biomaterials. And the third one was biotechnology and imaging, something like that. Um, so you first have to take your core biomedical engineering classes, which included things like cell biology, biomaterials, biomechanics. Um, I'm blanking out, but I think bioinstrumentation, biotransport phenomena, like those were like the core BME, like uh low level classes. Then you got into your higher level. Well, actually, biotransport was one of like the higher level BME core classes. You also had like product development, which was like a pre-senior design, kind of just like taught you how to come up with a medical device idea and how to market it and how to think of the regulatory strategy, things like that. Um, then, then senior design was your last class where you actually developed a product, a medical device or medical product. Then, depending on your concentration, you chose like your biomedical engineering electives. So my concentration was biomaterial slash cell and tissue engineering. So my concentration electives were things like um, cellular engineering, biocompatibility, biocomputation, and imaging, I think. Um, but then, if you took the biomechanics concentration, then you would have to take biomechanics to um, thermodynamics. I don't know, things like that, things related to the concentration. Then you also had like your general engineering classes, like um, linear algebra, differential equations, the calculus. I took up to calculus 3, but they only required up to calculus 2, which calculus 2 is actually harder than calculus 3. Um, what else? Yeah, like general engineering. And then, depending on your concentration, you also took related general engineering electives. So I took statics and dynamics and one class called engineering analysis. So it really depends on the concentration that you choose. They let you have those electives, but you do have those core biomedical engineering classes, but it depends on your university. Every university will offer different courses, but I hope that gives you a better idea of what to expect. Um, okay, hot dice miniatures. I was going to a college in Canada to get a biomedical technologist diploma, which is less than a bachelor's in the US. I was wondering if there was an associate degree equivalent in the US. Yes, there is. It's called biomed technician, I think. I've heard of it. I know Adrian's uncle is a biomed tech, right? Yeah. Um, so I know that's a thing. Um, I think biomedical technicians are kind of like give maintenance and repair to medical devices. So I think they might actually work at the hospital, if I'm not wrong. But yes, they mainly do like, I think they mainly do like repairs and maintenance to medical devices, which is actually what a lot of BMEs do in Mexico, I believe. Um, So yeah, I think that's the equivalent. And I think there's actually a YouTube channel that of a girl who's a biomed tech. I don't know her name or I don't remember it right now, but you should look it up because there is someone that has a YouTube channel that talks about being a biomedical technician. But yes, there is an associate degree related to it. Okay. Karina P said, if I'm thinking about going into the industry, would there be more job opportunities on a more rehab slash medical device track or more of a chemical engineering pharma track? That's a hard question for me to answer because I don't know much about chemical engineering or pharma, to be honest. But I do know pharmaceuticals are supposed to be a big industry, probably even bigger than medical devices. But just because I'm in the medical device industry, I know more medical device companies and things like that. So I'm kind of biased to answer that question. But I mean, I mean, like if if you want to go to the chemical engineering track, you'd probably be best if you actually had a chemical engineering degree. So if you already have a biomedical engineering degree, I think it might be better to go to the medical device industry. Because I could see how pharma might want to hire more chemical engineers just because you have more knowledge of the chemistry. But I mean, they still have like quality assurance, regulatory people. So you could definitely go there too. But just because I'm biased, I'm gonna say the medical device would be better, but don't quote me on that. But that's just my opinion. I hope it helps. Okay, next question is I'm an incoming sophomore in BME undergrad and I'm not really sure what I exactly want to do. Do you have any suggestions on how to get started on research or explore more subfields in BME? I totally uh, I totally understand your feelings right now. I was on the same boat and I would hear people say like, "Oh yeah, I work in a research lab. I work in a research lab," and I'd be like, "What does that even mean?" Um, I started looking into it, and you work in a research team under a professor, and it depends on your research lab, on the project. It depends what you actually do, but the best first step is to well, look at the different research labs that there are at your university. Maybe choose one or two that you're interested in. Reach out to those professors. It'd be best if it's a professor that you actually have classes with, just so that they'll know you and they'll be like, oh yeah, and that way when you ask if you can join, um, they won't be weirded out, or they'll be more likely to say yes if they know you. Um, but I also want to mention that you can also do research outside of the biomedical engineering department. Like you can go to the biology department. There were a lot of people in my BME class that did labs that were in research labs that were under the mechanical engineering department, because mechanical engineers also do a lot of biomedical related research. Like Gerardo, I don't know if he's here still. He was like the first person to join, but he's a mechanical engineering student, and he did research in prosthetics. So, mechanical engineering departments also have biomedical research. So just, look at the different research opportunities there, approach the professors. That's really what I did, and that's how I joined a research lab eventually. There's also like scholarships that can help you find or like fund research easier, because when you ask the professor, a lot of the times they think, well, how am I going to fund you? How am I going to pay you to do research? Or, I mean, not, they don't always pay you, but they still need your resources. So if you come with a scholarship backing you up, I think that's a good idea. I personally looked at my own university, like they had their own scholarship program for research during the summer. So I just did that, and I applied and I got it, and that's what funded my research during the summer. But you can also look at other universities that you can do research in. You can do research outside of your school. So yeah, really just search, start locally, start with your university, but just check out what's out there too. Um, Exploring more subfields in BME. I mean, it's tough. I think the best way to learn is by meeting people, like create LinkedIn profile, create a LinkedIn profile, connect with people in different industries. I am sure that a lot of professionals would actually be really happy to talk to you, just to tell you what they do. Also, visit our channel, see the different podcasts that we've had with so many BME professionals, because at the end of the day, that's the purpose of our podcast, to showcase like the different things you can do in BME. So I would really encourage everyone, if you haven't already, to watch our podcast, because best way to learn what you want to do is like hear someone say it and you be like, oh, that sounds cool. I want to do that too. So I would encourage you all to watch them, just so you can listen to other people's experience, because my experience, is very specific, and not everyone wants to be in regulatory affairs. So definitely go listen to other people, reach out to other people, attend events if possible, just so you can talk to people. So yeah, I hope that helps. Okay, Faye Brown, thank you so much. You're awesome, superstar. Keep on shining strong and beautifully. I apologize for my grammar and doing my best, very best to improve my writing. Oh, your grammar is actually really good. Like, no, yeah, it's great, and no need to apologize. Like, English is also my second language, so I think learning a new language is so hard. So you wrote it perfectly. Like, you have nothing to apologize for. Okay. Yeah, Zilek. I feel deeply intimidated by the amount of info I have to learn, especially with biology. Any tips on how to study? It's literally the only thing that's holding me back from studying BME. That is a great question. Um, Obviously, everyone learns different in different ways. Like what works for me might not work for you. And I mean, the truth is that you're gonna have to learn how you best learn, and I think that's part of college, to learn how you learn the best. I don't know if that makes sense, but for me, it was always writing stuff. Like, I would always write things down like 2 or 3 times, just so that they could stay in my head. If I just read the book and highlighted things, that would not work for me. Like, I had to feel pain in my hands to be able to remember and memorize, and that was just my thing. Like, I really had to write things down. on paper, because if I typed it, like it also didn't really help that much. So that really helped me, especially when it came to memorizing like biology. Um, so that might help you. I know a lot of people um, say that one thing that helps them a lot is like studying with other people. That personally never helped me really, because I would just get distracted, and I knew I had to write things down anyway, so I couldn't do that with other people. I would always study on my own and then test myself by studying with people. So definitely, I mean, again, it's up to you and how you learn. But for me, it was always writing and then testing myself through other people, having friends quiz you and things like that. So yeah, I would recommend that. But again, everyone's different. So if you just have to read a book and you memorize it, that's even better. Um, but I hope that helps. But I mean, it's okay to not know, and that's part of learning and growing. Don't be afraid, like just do it. And if you try hard enough, like you will make it. Like I do want to mention that when I first started BME, I felt like everyone around me was so smart and that everyone knew so much, and I felt so dumb around everyone. And then with time, I started realizing that everyone felt the same way. So don't feel discouraged. Everyone struggles, and you're gonna struggle. That's just the truth. But it gets better. It really does. So just don't get discouraged. Keep going, and you'll be great. Okay. We have next question. It says, there is a course in my university that spans 2 semesters called a graduation project, and I was wondering if you did something similar to that. If so, do you have any tips? Um, I think I might have had, so in my school, we had this class called senior design, which also was 2 semesters. And so what you basically did was come up with a medical device idea, and you had to start from scratch, like doing research, making sure that it was a feasible idea, an actual medical need. Then you start with like um, I guess customer requirements, like user needs. Then you translate those into like engineering requirements. Then you start building a prototype, then testing it, verification and validation. Um, I think you'd also have to do things um, like business, like create a business model. How are you actually gonna, you know, do this? How much is it gonna cost? How much funding do you need? Then a regulatory strategy, like how are you gonna put it in the market? Then you start into like marketing things like value proposition, things like that. So I'm not sure if it's the same um, course, but it probably is. But if I have any tips, I mean, one would definitely be get a good team. Don't get a team of slackers or a team that you've never been in with before, because uh, you don't know how you're going to work with them. So if you can, definitely work with people that you've worked with before, that you trust. I made a mistake of not doing that, and I highly regret it. So really recommend getting a good team. Um, Next thing is, I guess, just thinking of a feasible idea. We all would love to solve all the problems in the world, but that's not realistic. So, definitely think of a realistic idea. I mean, we're young and we're students. It's not like we're actually creating a medical device company. So you're allowed to have a little bit of fun with it. Um, but you can also actually develop something real out of it, which I think is really cool. So, I mean, it's up to you, if you want to treat it as a class or as a potential startup company. It's up to you, but I would choose a team that has the same mindset as you, and you're all in agreement with what you're doing, what kind of device you will do, and things like that. But I mean, communication is key, assigning responsibilities. Um, sorry, and just keeping good management of your time is really good. So yeah, okay. Which do you think are the best cities to look for biomedical engineering job postgrad for research and design? Uh, that's a really hard question. I think I've looked it up before, and I believe it's places like Boston. Um, oh my gosh, I forgot, but like the bigger cities are obviously better. Actually, I've heard that New York doesn't really have anything, but I think places like Boston, um, what else? California is really big. Um, I have to look it up. If you guys watch the salary video, like I've actually mentioned that like the top paid cities, and that corresponds to the cities with the best jobs. So yeah, I hope that helps a little. Okay, Zlek. To be honest, I love physics and math, but biology has always been a difficult topic, mainly because of my professors. I definitely agree that professors really play a big role in how well you understand a material. And that's really sad. Yeah, it's really sad, especially in college. Like I always felt like I learned so much more in high school than I did in college because the professors in a lot of the professors in college weren't that great. Um, but yeah. Um, I mean, honestly, not being great at biology is not gonna kill you. Like I mean, in your classes, maybe like it's gonna be a real struggle, but don't think like, oh, should I really choose BME? Like, I'm not that good at biology. Like, I prefer physics and things like that. Like, um, you don't have to use biology if you don't want to. Like, if you want to be more like a design engineer, you'll never use biology. Um, so it's really up to what you want to do. But as far as actually taking your degree, you do need biology because it's a big part of BME. But there's other, if physics is your thing, maybe you would be more interested in imaging or biophotonics, things like that, that are more related to physics. So yeah, I would definitely explore those fields if physics is like your strengths. Okay, Karina P, that helps. Thank you. I'm currently an undergrad, so deciding on my major. You're welcome. No problem. Like I said, I was undecided on for 2 years, so no worries. Okay, Faye Brown, based on your experiences, what is your most favorite part of biomedical engineering so far? So far, um, I like that at the end of the day, we're working on something that will help someone's health. I love that idea, and I mean, you could say, well, I could be a mechanical engineer working in a medical device company. I'm also helping someone, which is true. But what I like specifically about BME or what I do right now is just like the how interdisciplinary it is. Like you get to learn about different topics and kind of like apply them all in one thing. Like I was mentioning before, like in my job, I have to understand biocompatibility, like biology, electrical safety, electromagnetic compatibility, software, sterilization, shelf life, like things like that, animal studies, clinical studies, understand the regulations, understand the marketing a little. Um, so I just love that, like in interdisciplinarity that BME offers. So yeah, that's personally what I really love about BME, but that's also something that a lot of people don't really like about BME. So it depends on your interests. Okay, Maria said, can you explain what a biomedical engineer really does? I mean, it's a tough answer because there's so many things you can do with BME. You know, like I already talked about what I do as a regulatory affairs person, but it depends, what kind of job you get, what kind of position you get. Um, we have what's it called? A video talking about the different career paths. So you should definitely check that out if you're interested. Let me just put the link in the comments really quick. Because I just don't want to take time away from the other questions that I haven't answered because I know we have that video and there's just so many things that you can do that I don't want to talk about them for too long. Okay, sorry. This is taking longer than I expected. But let me just send the link really quickly. Okay. I usually have someone backstage sending comments. So it's just me right now. Um, okay. In your opinion, what are the prospects of data science in biomedical engineering or generally software engineering BME? I mentioned this before. I think they're great because now that I'm in regulatory affairs, like I actually get to see like all the novel devices that are coming to the market. So many of them are like either pure software or have a software component. So I think um, if you're a software engineer, you're in computer science, but you want to apply it to the biomedical field, there's a lot of potential there. Also, if you're a biomedical engineer who's interested in learning, programming, or software, you should definitely do that because there's a lot of potential. Okay. Um, when you realized you wanted to be a BME, did you consider the other engineering jobs? And if so, what led you to choose BME? So I I mentioned this earlier. I was at another university that was smaller. They only offered mechanical, electrical, and civil. I didn't want civil because I wasn't really interested in civil engineering, like construction and things like that. I mean, I don't know much about the field, but that's just what I thought it was, and I wasn't really interested. So I was like, no, no. And then so it was between electrical and mechanical. Electrical just seemed way too complicated. It seemed really cool, but it just seemed too hard. And also, mechanical was the more general. So I just figured I'd do that. Um, but then I met someone who was a BME, and actually, they were a BME, like, they were a physics major, but there was like a BME concentration. And I really was interested in what they were doing. Then I learned about chemical engineering. So I had to make a decision between the two. I ultimately chose BME because it involved medical technologies and I just thought it was really cool. So yeah, I just thought it was really cool. Um, I don't think I really went too far in my research, like actually researching salaries or jobs or things like that. Like I just chose it because it sounded cool and I really enjoyed biology. So that's why I chose it. But I think any engineering degree, I mean, is a good career. So, yeah. How important is GPA for grad school? I get so stressed with pressure to keep my GPA high. I feel like I would enjoy my major so much if I just focused on learning instead of grades. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's a tough question because I think for grad school, your GPA is more important than it would be if you just wanted to go into industry because for industry, it's more important that you have internship experiences and things like that. For grad school, I feel like GPA is more important, but it's also not like they expect like a 4.0. Um, it really depends on the university though, so I would check the requirements of any university you're interested in, but I would say that you have to have a good GPA. I don't think you have to have like a perfect GPA. But I do get the struggle of like, you should um of having to care too much about your grades when that sometimes can actually distract you from really learning. Um, but yeah, I think, I mean, for grad school, the most important I think would be getting like research experience and things like that. So I would definitely focus on that. But your GPA is also important for grad school. For industry, I feel like it's not that important, but um, your yeah, for industry, I feel like your experience tells a better story than your GPA. Okay, next question. Any funny moments in your biomedical engineering journey? Um, that's a good question. I mean, I can only think of one thing like right now on the spot, but there was this one time that I was waiting for the bus at my apartment complex to go to school, and this guy like approached me and we just started talking, and he was like, "So what major are you?" And I said, "Biomedical engineering." And he said, "Biomedical engineering, like what is that?" Like he said, "Is that making like creating designer babies?" And I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And he said, "Yeah, bio, babies, engineering, designing." I mean, I just thought that was funny, kind of ignorant, but I mean, I don't blame him. Like, um, like a lot of people didn't know what biomedical engineering was when I told them. Even my family, I mean, I didn't know what BME was until I actually pursued a degree in it. So, but I just thought it was pretty funny that he thought I disliked babies and that I was learning about that. Which, I mean, I guess it's kind of like a related field more if you get into genetics and genetical engineering. I guess designer babies could become a thing or are becoming a thing. I'm not too familiar with the area, but I just thought it was funny. Um, so yeah. Okay. Hi, do you think BME would be helpful for a career in forensics or anything marine related? Sorry, it's a weird question. It actually isn't a weird question at all. I'm glad you asked that. I'm not sure about marine. I've never heard about marine research involving BME. I know you can do like more like veterinary, um, but maybe marine. I'm not. I've never heard anything of it. Um, but for forensics, we were actually told once that yes, you could use BME in forensics. And actually, in my what class was it? In biotransport phenomena class, um, I forgot what the topic was, but um, sorry, I'm trying to remember. But there was a question, or there was this thing that we were learning, and you could basically apply it to find out, like, to like the time someone had died or something like that. Like, it was something like the question was where like, um, this body was found at 8 p.m. and then the water's temperature was so many degrees, the body's temperature was so many degrees. Like, could it be possible that the body was actually found at this time? Or I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm like messing it up. But basically, yes, um like the point of the question was to find out if like the person who found the body like was telling the truth about the time that they found it, or if maybe they had killed them or something like that. It was a very weird question, but you had to actually use math, um, specifically like biotransport equations to like, I don't know, something about heat transfer and things like that. Like, it was really interesting. So I think you can definitely use forensics. I think, or use BME in forensics. And actually, one time I think someone told me that you could use BME to, like, in law, um, like if they're trying to investigate how someone died in a car crash or something like that, like you could use biomedical engineering. I've only heard these things like twice in my life, so I don't know too much about it. I'm sorry, but I mean, if you're interested in it, I would definitely recommend researching more about it. So I hope that helps. And it was definitely not a weird question. I think it's really interesting question. Okay. Um, Dan said, "You're awesome. Please do not give up on this channel. Your efforts are really worthwhile and people need this kind of content. Thank you. All the best." Well, thank you so much for your nice comment. We'll definitely try to keep it up. Okay. Faye Brown, that is a very good question. That is really awesome for Korean forensics and marine. Yeah. Ayat at Select. Try taking a What's My Learning Style test online to see what your style might be. I started enjoying biology after finding that active recall and visual drawings worked for me. Oh, wow, that's really cool. Yeah, I think that's a really cool tool to find out how you are best at learning. Slack said, "By the way, your English is remarkable. It's my second language as well, and you being so fluent at it gives you hope." Oh, thank you. That means a lot to me. Yeah, I still get a little bit um self-conscious, I guess, about my English. I know sometimes, like, depending on how confident I feel, like, sometimes my accent will just be terrible. And I don't know, like, if anyone is bilingual here, apart from Zlek, and I mean, just by seeing your names, I would assume that a lot of you are bilingual. Um, but I want to say that I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I feel like we bilingual people have kind of like a switch in our minds that kind of turns off and on, because I had this professor whose first language was like, well, I'm sorry, it's gonna sound really bad, but I don't know what the first language actually is, like the language, but he was from India. So he would speak like his native language, and like that was his first language. And when he would speak English, like within 5 minutes, his accent would change between like perfect English to like really heavy Indian accent. And I was just like so impressed and like um in that, because I just never heard that before. You know, you would think someone's accent kind of like develops and fades out over time, but his kind of like turned on and off. And I think I've noticed that in me too. Like, I feel like if I get really nervous, my Spanish, like my Mexican accent, starts picking out more and more. Um, so maybe we're like making a conscious effort to try to imitate the American accent all the time. But if we're nervous, we kind of mess it up. I don't know. But let me know if you guys have any issue with that. But anyway, I just want to say that practice makes perfect. So if you want to, you know, improve your English, you definitely have to speak it with other people, even if you feel dumb. Or when I was in middle school, I was really embarrassed to speak English out loud. Um, I don't know why. I guess I was just afraid of sounding dumb. Um, and honestly, even in college, I feel like it would make me self-conscious sometimes, because I would feel like, I don't know, people would think that I couldn't speak or anything like that. And even right now, I feel like my vocabulary is very limited, and I just feel like I was better at speaking. I just had more professional vocabulary, but I mean, it's a struggle. And I saw this quote the other day that said, like, an accent is um, proof or evidence that you're brave, or something like that. And I was like, oh, I'll just think that I'm brave, because I learned another language. So yeah, I mean, don't get discouraged. It really, an accent, I feel like it's like a flavor. I don't know. I feel like you're adding flavor to the language. Like, it's a different, you want it salty or sweet. Like, it's just different flavors. But yeah, sorry, I kind of deviated a lot. Um, I'm in 12th grade and I would like to know which all subjects I should concentrate in order to avoid much struggle after joining BME. Oh, okay. So if you mean what classes you should be taking during high school, I mean, I went to a really small high school, so they didn't offer any like AP courses, which could have been really helpful. Um, but if you really want to advance your like the credits you have to take and things like that, um, I would really recommend taking any AP courses if you can, like science, like physics, chemistry, biology, things like that. Um, Calculus is also really important because you're gonna need it. So if you can take pre-calculus or even calculus in high school, I would definitely recommend that. Okay, Medical Device Academy, hello, said, I think biomedical engineering is a great field because you can develop devices that save lives, devices that are life supporting, and devices that can improve the quality of life, even children. That is a great description of why BME is great. And guys, if you were doubting if VME is good, Medical Device Academy has someone with a chemical engineering degree who is a very successful professional with decades of experience saying that VME is good. So if you don't trust me, trust them. Um, so thank you, Rob, for saying that. Um, okay. I've upped VME for my bachelor's, though I'm not good at bio. But this is a unique and creative field with less competition, so that's why. I agree, but I would not say that it has less competition. If anything, I feel like it has a lot of competition, especially because if you want to get an engineering job at a medical device company, you will be competing against some mechanical engineers. Sometimes it depends on what you want to do. I personally, for example, when I started my internship, my first internship while I was in college, I was the only BME student, and there were two mechanical engineering students. And so it was three of us. And I don't want to say too much because I'm afraid they're watching this video. If they are, I'm sorry. But I think actually the CEO that we worked with didn't really like one of the mechanical engineers. Um, so I don't want to say too much, but that's just kind of like proof that your major at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's up to your work ethics and, you know, how willing you're to learn and things like that. So, yeah, but I guess just to answer the question, there is competition in BME. I would say there is a lot, but I guess it depends on the area you're looking at. Okay. Um, Venus. I am from India. What are the procedure for joining as a biomedical engineer in abroad? I mean, Singapore, US, likewise. That's a really tough question because I don't really know much about international, mm, like applying to jobs and things like that. I know it's a whole different process, and I should actually interview someone who's done that because it's a question we get a lot. But unfortunately, I do not have an answer for that. I just know, it can be struggles. So, but there are people who make it and work here. I think you just have to look for the connections and, but don't be discouraged. Like there are people who get jobs that are not from the US. But it definitely requires more steps than it would from someone who's here. Um, Okay. Select said, do you need a special computer? Most engineers I know always end up buying PCs that have high specs, and I'm in the process of buying one, so I want to be able to work for me in the future. And Gerardo replied, depends on what engineering you're interested, since that can vary and maybe you can do most of your work at your university lab. However, if you're either civil or mechanical, you might end up requiring to use CAD software, and you can Google those programs and see the requirements for your PC. I definitely agree, Gerardo. That was a great response. Um, for BME, I mean, I can tell you a couple of softwares that we use. We did use a CAD software, which was SolidWorks for a little bit, but didn't really use it much. But again, it depends on your interest and like if SolidWorks is actually like designing is something that you want to do, then get a computer that is capable of doing that, programming, things like that. I always use, I don't want to say basic computers, but I never got anything super fancy. Like I had a Yoga Lenovo for a while, and then I had a MacBook Pro for the rest of my career as an undergrad. And again, I used SolidWorks, I used Arduino, I used RStudio, what else? MATLAB. All of those were compatible. So yeah, I don't think there were any like special requirements. Honestly, the most important thing will probably be just like storage and speed. Um, but yeah, I'm not too familiar with that for what would be the best. But um, yeah, I personally, again, never used any kind of like special requirements. I think basic computers kind of worked with what I did. Okay. Hi, I'm a pre-med student uh, and I want to possibly do research in BME tissues. So would it be helpful to get an undergrad in BME, or could I learn as I go? Okay, let me read that again. Hi, I am a pre-med student and I want to possibly do research in BME tissues. So would it be helpful to get an undergrad in BME, or could I learn as I go? I'm bad at math and my GPA is important. Hey Alyssa, thanks for asking your question. So I think as a pre-med student, you could definitely do research without being a BME, especially because if you're doing research, um, you're not gonna need and I'm assuming like working in a wet lab environment, like working with tissues, working with cells, you won't use math that much. I mean, you will to like calculate concentrations of solutions or cells and things like that. So basic math is important, but I don't think you would have to have an engineering degree to be able to do research. So yeah, I hope that helps, but yeah, I wouldn't think so. English sounds on point in my head, but I get nervous as soon as I start speaking. Literally, all my confidence goes down as soon as I start speaking, but when I get in my zone, I almost sound native. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Especially when you sing too. Like when you sing, like the accent goes away. I don't know why. It's so interesting. Um, okay. Alyssa, I have been in college for like 4 years and I should have graduated, but recently have taken up an interest in BME, but I don't know if it's worth it changing my major. I have a lot of self-doubt. I mean, if you've already completed 4 years and you're almost done with your pre-med, I would just finish that. And then, I mean, did you do pre-med because you were interested in medical school? Are you kind of thinking you don't want that anymore? There is a kind of graduate degree that's called an MD/PhD. It's a very ambitious degree, but it basically gives you a medical doctor degree as well as PhD. So if you're not interested in which one you want, maybe you could do both. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm just reading your question. But yeah, I mean, I think they're both kind of related, which is a good thing. But you could do your master's in BME if you want to do BME instead of going to medical school. Like that's totally okay. I think most masters in BME require you to have a bachelor's in engineering or a science related field. So I think you should be good. You may be lacking some few courses that you could be able to take. Um, but I saw this thing one time that said like it was someone that like for example like studied law but they wanted to be, I don't know, an artist instead. Or let's just say an engineer. Um So they did 4 years of law, and then they were like, oh, like I really want to do engineer, but I already spent 4 years in law school. Like I don't want to throw away those 4 years. Um, but I think that's something that we all think, but we also have to remember, well, are you gonna trade in 4 years for like the rest of your life? You know, like I feel like the decades that follow that are much more important. So yeah, it sucks that you already spent 4 years and you realize that you didn't really like it. Um, but at the same time, you have a whole life ahead of you, you know? So just do what makes you happy and what you're actually passionate about. Um, you're in a good situation because pre-med and BME have like overlapping courses, so I don't think it should be too bad for you. Oh, Alyssa, I maybe have like 35% of my degree completed. Okay, then um, I think you could make the switch if you really wanted to. I mean, again, you probably took some like science courses, so you might be able to count those for BME. But did you say that you're not that good at math? Um, I'm bad at math. My GPA is important. Um, yeah, I mean, you do use a lot of math in engineering, but you can learn. I mean, again, at the end of the, and you said GPA is important, but yes, I understand that GPA may be important for you, and it is. I'm not saying it shouldn't be or that you shouldn't care about your GPA because it's good to care about your GPA and you should, but at the end of the day, experience is more important. Um, so don't kill yourself over, um, not being so good at math and not having a perfect GPA. Like, it's all about being a hard worker and being dedicated to what you do, I think, and then you should be fine. Yeah, like, if I think you can always work on things that maybe you're not that good at. Um, the math that you do as a BME, I mean, it is a lot, but it's not as much as other engineerings would do, I would assume. So you can definitely learn it. I I think, I mean, you sound like a smart person, so I'm sure you will be able to accomplish whatever you dedicate yourself to. I hope that helps. um, okay, next question. Does the BME degree get easier as you actually start classes related to the field? Right now, I'm taking core engineering classes that all engineering students take. Yes, okay, so I think I mentioned earlier, in the beginning, I felt like it was really hard. And then as I kept going, um, it kept getting harder. I mean, your classes keep getting harder, but you actually start being better at learning. And I mean, I don't know if it's true, but I feel like the brain kind of feels like when it comes to learning, I think of it as like a muscle almost, that you kind of just exercise and you're exercising to your brain to be able to learn. The wires kind of just click and connect in your brain with time. And yeah, I think the core of an engineering degree is learning how to solve problems and learning to understand things. So yeah, I I do think classes are harder, but they actually get easier, if that makes sense. I don't know. I hope that makes sense, but that's definitely how I felt and how I've seen a lot of people feel. Okay. Is there any kind of application for Python or any other programming languages in BME? Yes. I'm just thinking, but um, I was never much of a programmer, but I did use MATLAB and RStudio and Arduino. I don't think those are languages, but those were the platforms or the softwares that we were using. Um, but yeah, that's what I saw the most. Hi, I'm Colombian, made it into Georgia Tech. Great job. program of BME. However, the cost is quite high for an international student. I also made it into a good local university, which is also good. Can I, sorry, I lost the second part of the question. Is a bachelor's that important, or should I stay at the local and then go for the master's? Um, so if you're really sure that you want a master's, I would say the master's is more important. But then what if you're not sure if you want a master's? What if you just do a bachelor's and you stick with that? Um, I know Georgia Tech is a really good university, and I've seen a lot of people come out of there being really successful. It definitely gets a lot of recognition, so a lot of companies go to Georgia Tech to recruit. Um, but with that being said, I also think you can be successful wherever you go. It's up to you and what you do with it. Um, I'm just thinking, but uh, that's a tough question. One of one person I met once, like a professional in the industry, he's like the CTO of a company right now, said that he really thought that where you do your bachelor's, he said, your bachelor's isn't about where you do it, it's about what you do with it. And then your graduate degree, it's like who you do it with, something like that. But basically, he said that he really thought that where you do your graduate degree is really important. Um, I don't know if that's true or not. I still stand um, strong with the opinion that you can be successful wherever you go, but I do think some schools have advantages. So just to just really analyze, like, are you sure you want a master's? Because maybe you don't, then maybe you'd want to put more importance to your bachelor's. I don't know. If the local university is good, maybe you could go there first and then transfer to Georgia Tech. That way it reduces the cost a little bit. Also consider community college. I didn't do community college, but I honestly should have, because you can take some of your general core classes there and save money. So I would definitely recommend that. Okay, just reading next to the questions. Dr. X, can I do MSc in surgery after MSc in BME? Um, I'm not sure what an MSc is. Is it a master's? Like a master's of science? Let me see. Yeah, I've never heard of a master's in surgery, so I'm not gonna be able to answer that, because I would think that to study surgery, you'd have to get a medical doctor degree first, which is 4 years after BME. But um, you can go into medical school with a BME degree. So yeah, I'm not really sure about that question. Sorry. Um, okay. Medical Device Academy said, it sounds like a video dedicated to speaking techniques for non-native speakers might be really helpful in your audience. I definitely agree with that. I think it would be really helpful for a lot of us, because I do think that we have a lot of international people here. So thank you for the recommendation. Um, Harold said, I wouldn't say bachelor isn't important, because there's a lot of people who have done great things without it, but it helps the odds, I guess. Also, I'm not sure if you can do masters without a bachelor's, but I don't know, TBH. Marco said, the university in my country other than in the US, it isn't as well ranked. Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I mean, again, I think, I don't know. That's a tough question. I would do the best that you can if if you think you want to pursue a career in the US, I think coming here for your bachelor's would be good. But I also know a lot of people, like a lot of my professors, only did their PhDs here and their bachelor's, like in their home country. And a lot of them are actually from Colombia. So you could definitely do that. Okay, I'm just gonna answer a couple more questions because I just realized I've been here for way too long. I have some things to do, so just gonna answer a few more questions and then we're gonna be leaving. But thank you all in advance for joining. Um, Let me know if there's any days or times that you guys would prefer to have these live streams because today was kind of like spontaneous. Are there good future for biomedical engineers? Yes, there is. Skills required for BME, which we have to learn as soon as possible. Mm, it depends on what you want to do. There's a lot of skills you could gain. Um, Programming, SolidWorks, um, learning about electrical engineering, learning about mechanics, learning about biology, biocompatibility, things like that. It really depends on what you want to focus in. But at the end of the day, I think the best soft skill you can learn is communication and networking. So those would be my top two. Speaking of local universities, which are the best places to study BME in Mexico according to you? Thinking about going for tech since it's my dream school, but IPN is just kind regarding engineering. Oh, so are you from Mexico? That's really cool. Um, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I do not know of a lot of universities in Mexico. I've also heard the is the IPN the Politécnico. Yeah, I think those are pretty good. Um, I know there's a university in Guadalajara that's really good, and I actually know someone who teaches there. So if you're interested, I don't know if you guys follow me on Instagram, but if you don't, you should message me and let me know. Um, I would love to connect you with the person from Guadalajara, and maybe he'd know better if what are the best universities in Mexico. Um, but Guadalajara is also a really big city. I think it's like the number one in like technology in Mexico. So I think that would be a good place to go. If not, Mexico City is obviously really good, or maybe Monterrey. But yeah, those are my opinions, I guess. Elisa, would you recommend taking calculus 2, 3 at a community college if your college that you're looking at applying to already has those classes, but you want to just try them first to see how you do for less money? Yes, I would definitely recommend taking your community. I mean, use whatever class you can at a community college. I would just make sure that they're actually transferable because sometimes they're not, and that would obviously be really bad. But yes, I would recommend taking any classes that you can at a community college. Okay, Faye Brown said, I'm thinking maybe on a Friday or Saturday if it's possible for you to do the live, since we're ending our busy week on a Friday, or if you have free time on both Friday and or Saturday. It's all up to you. We're always here supporting you. Thank you so much. Um, yeah, I agree that a weekend day would be really good. Um, I also like just kind of like tuning in during the week. I think that'd be pretty cool. I mean, we've had so much engagement on a Monday. I'm really surprised. But thank you all for being here. And last question I'm going to answer is actually Gerardo's. I've seen too many questions, but the real question in here is, how are you? I'm pretty good. Thanks for asking. Um, there's not really much going on in my life right now. I think everything's pretty relaxing. Um, I mentioned I work as an in a regulatory consulting firm. Today I actually shipped out my first submission, which I've never done before. I mean, I worked in submissions before, but today was my first time actually going to FedEx and shipping something out. So that was pretty cool. It just felt really nice to like actually ship out something physically. I don't know. That was exciting. But overall, I'm pretty good. Um, let's see, I got a security system in my house recently, so that was pretty exciting and cool. Um, Other than that, I'm thinking of getting a pet soon. Don't want to say too much, but yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it, you know. I went to Mexico about 2 weeks ago, and hopefully sometime in the summer we'll do some traveling. So that's gonna be exciting, but I don't know. I really don't know what's gonna happen. But yeah, I'm good. I'm really happy that everyone joined. It was great to see all these people. I always um, get nervous, I guess, thinking that no one's gonna join, no one's gonna ask questions, and I'm just gonna be staring here. Actually, my original idea was to answer the questions in the comments that I've gotten in the past, but I actually didn't get to answer many questions from there because you guys were here, and I'm obviously giving priority to the people that are tuning live. So thank you all for joining. It was a pleasure to chat with everyone and answer as best as I could. Again, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I don't have all the answers, but I can share my experience, which is the purpose of this channel. So anyway, um, I think that's it for today. I will be ending the live stream now, but thank you all for joining and stay tuned for the next one. Okay, well, have a good rest of your Monday, everyone, and we'll see you next time. Bye.